Welcome to Get the Facts. This is the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. Our focus today is the Records Information Management, otherwise known as RIM program, of the government, which is important for so many reasons. To explore what RIM is all about and the benefits, we have with us Mrs. Claudette Thomas, government archivist at the Jamaica Archives and Records Department, which we call for short, JARD. Welcome to the program, Mrs. Thomas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry.
Let's jump right into it. Our time is limited. What is JARD?
JARD, Jamaica Archives and Records Department, it's an arm of government which implements records and information management for all our government.
Right.
So we are under the Office of the Prime Minister, and we are in a program which is that critical arm supporting the information communication technologies of the Office of the Prime Minister, which seeks to transform government and to have a modernized process of service to the public.
All right. So you said quite a bit that I think we're going to have to unpack a bit, because when I, as a citizen, think about records information management, I just think about my name and something on a piece of paper in an office somewhere. Why does records information management matter?
It matters because government is the largest consumer.
Consumer, not gatherer.
And gatherer. So
I get gatherer, but consumer?
Yes. Government consume a lot of information, and they also gather the most information in any country. So because of this, it is important that we have all the records properly organized. But remember, we're looking at information, and information cannot exist unless it sits on a platform for it to be a record.
Help me out with that one now.
All right, so you will have information is really transient, it is intangible, but information is needed as evidence to support the transaction of business, to ensure that government administration is effective and efficient.
Just business? Are there other elements to the records information management system that makes it important?
Service. So government service can be enhanced if we have appropriate and effective records and information management within their sector.
Ah, all right. And I imagine that history is also a big part of this as well.
Okay, so another important component is so that we are able to capture the cultural and documentary heritage of our country. So if we have not effectively managed our records, we would have had gaps in the history and the culture of our people.
Which is a question of where we come from. But you know, Lady Thomas, as I think about this and I'm considering, there must be some things, there must be a standard to which records information management has to be kept for it to be useful. Could you help us?
Okay, so there is an international standard, ISO 15489, which speaks to records and documentation, how they should be managed. And that best practice, Jamaica has been adhering to it since 2003, thereabout. But we also have other guidelines. There is that legislation, the Archives Act, the Archives Regulation, and recently we had in 2018, Cabinet Decision 2518, which allowed for this new GOG, Records and Information Management Policy. And a plug out now is that program that we now manage.
All right, this program, Records Information Management, RIM, who is required to participate?
Well, let's say all public servants, all government officials, and it will benefit all the individuals we serve, the citizens of this country. So the senior officers, permanent secretaries, CEOs, all of these individuals are required to ensure the effective and efficient management of their records in the entities they manage.
All right. So I'm just following the thread here. You're mentioning that the data is important. It's important today. Data from yesteryear is important. It's about who we are. It's how the government runs. It's about the services the government runs. And this involves everybody who gathers information.
It involves everyone.
So,
But
okay. Yes.
I'd like us to understand that while we speak of records, we need not exchange words with data.
All right.
Because data speaks to a small subset in a database. And while government collects data, they will need to get it to a point of a record to
Right.
support the process for authenticity, reliability, and
Right.
authoritative, for it to be authoritative.
All right. So we have all this data. We're going to, I believe you're describing what RIM is supposed to be doing.
Yep.
We're going to make it useful information and authoritative and authentic information. So how is RIM being implemented?
Okay, so I thought you wouldn't ask. The government started out that program, started implementing, and it is in collaboration with Cabinet Office, the Office of the Prime Minister, and Jamaica Archives and Records Department, and also all ministries, departments, and agencies. It is where we have engaged all entities and encourage them to come on board. So far, we have started to engage the program with 3 cohorts of entities.
This is a training program.
The training program.
Right.
And that is where we have had these entities implementing the records and information management system, which speaks to the creation, use,
Yes.
maintenance, and disposition of the records which are created.
All right, we're going to go to a very short break right now. We've been talking about records information management with Claudette Thomas. Now, don't go anywhere. We continue this conversation on the other side of this break.
What a way you're full of our roots and culture. That was in Jamaica 60. Jamaica 60? What a piece of news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart going bust up.
Just in, the island of Jamaica is on the verge of celebrating its 60th year of independence.
A whole way of celebrating it. They say the people them, you know, them come here, you know. But you see, when our people decide, say the other people, them free paper, burn up, them say if it's war, start it, whatever. We all collect medal, panta fight, you know. Medal. Amount of tongue we did them, you know.
The celebrations are slated to begin on January 1st, 2022. Organized by the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. We have more in this report.
I am on site and planning activities are ablaze. Persons are advised to download the Reggae Jamaica app to know what it pre.
Why pre?
Activities for the Jamaica 60 celebration.
If you don't know the app to get the updates then.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. Our discussion continues on records information management with Mrs. Claudette Thomas, government archivist at the Jamaica Archives and Records Department, otherwise known as JARD. Now, we talked about well-managed information as a strategy to good administration and the government's drive to make this a reality. But let's continue our conversation with some of the obstacles. What are some of the obstacles that we face as a nation and government in getting good records, good data assets that can now become information?
All right. Thank you for that question. Strangely enough, one of the greatest obstacles is our perception. So often in countries of the metropolis, information and record keeping is given high priority. We do not value information as we should. And that is one of our major hindrances. Another challenge, really, is that public servants are unwilling to change the modus operandi.
Do you mean paper versus digital?
Yes.
That sort of thing?
There's that resistance to change, not too sure, so you keep all the paper you can. you store it until Jamaica is drowning in paper. Or you say, but the things that the emails I'm sending, these are not records. This is my personal thing. How are you going to tell me how to manage my emails? Those are not records. But we need to understand that the paper, it's a technological component. And now that we have a digital space in which we function, we still need to manage those records which are generated, because the records need to speak to some transaction. Yeah. They must be authentic, they must be reliable, they must be authoritative. And so these should be treated similar. So be it digital, be it audiovisual, be it paper, they all should be managed in an efficient manner. We would like all the ministries, departments and agencies to complete at least their manual RIM program. Right. So the manual RIM program that we're encouraging them to go ahead and start it in only 3 divisions. All right. 3 divisions, but they need to do the slew of activities, meaning they need to establish their charter, they need to have their survey conducted, establish the RIM committee, establish all the governance framework.
If I could just jump in here, survey meaning an idea of the information they already possess.
Yes, they need to. If you are running a business, you need to know what you have in stock. Right. So that survey needs to be conducted. Procedures manual, policy and or classification scheme, retention schedule, and then as the process go on, we will have the disposition of those which are really not records, but they are clutter and they are taking up space. We move right into ERIM, because ERIM is a conservation process which helps to improve systems. Yes. The fact of how we execute a process, so we may cut out some stages, but it creates efficiency and it allows for individuals to work from anywhere in the world they are. Yes. Getting access to the records.
Which we have gotten a taste of. JARD is celebrating 60 years of service. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we realized that the name was adopted in 1985 to consolidate historical and more modern records spanning over 3 centuries in Jamaica. I was not aware of that. So I just want you to give us some highlights of JARD, and in particular the RIM program, what has been going on, what successes you've had, and looking towards the future as well.
Okay, so some of the successes Jamaica has acquired or accomplished. In, say, 1962, February 15, 1962, they had the opening of the first purpose design archive in the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean?
In the Caribbean. All right. Then in 1982, they had the legislation which was drawn up and adopted, proclaimed. And then in 1988, we had a regulation established for records management. Right. In 2003, we had the international standard which was adopted. And in 2018, we had the new government records and information management policy. Since that policy, we've had the policy really is being managed under 5 areas: legislation, policy and regulations, then human resources, and the next area, which is the biggie for me, looking at having a new JARD, a new national library. I shouldn't call it a new national archive, pardon me.
Right.
For Jamaica. And the process will also include data collection and information sharing. And then we will also have that component which looks at the RIM system. So what we've been working on extensively now, we've started it from 2015, 39 entities so far have started to implement that records and information management system in their entities, meaning they have already established their committees, they have also conducted surveys, developed a number of tools to manage the process, and so they continue to accomplish that process. And coming soon, we'll have a new cohort. So we implemented with cohort 1, 2, and 3, 39 entities. We are looking forward to another group to commence this year. So the process continues, and the government is fully behind this program. You need to recognize that data privacy, personal privacy, and your security can be managed and controlled if you are aware of what exists and how it is managed. The Jamaica Archives and Records Department offers you that quality support, and we ask that you join us as we continue into the beyond.
Well said. We could speak at length about this area of the government, but time does not allow. This has been Get the Facts. Our guest was Mrs. Claudette Thomas, Government Archivist at the Jamaica Archives and Records Department, otherwise known as JARD. Thank you for watching, and until next time, where we get more of the facts, I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.